The New York Knicks have officially acquired the draft pick from the Dallas Mavericks as part of the Kristaps Porzingis trade, and we're going to break this down. So what's up, guys? Welcome back to Knicks Digest. It's Chris here, and we're going to jump right into the video as we always do, because the New York Knicks officially have 2 first-round draft picks this year and 1 second-round draft pick. And we just kind of have to discuss this because, as we know, the final conditions from the Kristaps Porzingis trade from New York to Dallas has been met with the Mavs clinching a playoff spot. Their 2024 first will not be sent to New York, as this was a lottery-protected pick. And this was supposed to convey last year because the Mavericks were supposed to make the play-in game when it was top 10 or something like that. But the Mavs purposely tanked in order so the Knicks couldn't get their pick so they could get their own pick. It worked out in their favor. They got Derek Lively, who's shown to be a very, very good rookie, who's really coming along in his own, even with Daniel Gafford now as the team's starting center. And speaking of Daniel Gafford, that trade they made at the deadline has absolutely elevated this team into being an actually good basketball team with more than just 2 good players and a rookie center, because Tim Hardaway Jr. has forgotten how to shoot the basketball once again. As we know as Knicks fans, that happens. But Luka is... I don't even know. He's just that good. Kyrie Irving's having one of the better seasons of his NBA career. Clearly, that's working for right now. I don't know how far they're going to get in the playoffs, but with Luka Doncic, you could definitely pass the earlier rounds at least. And the Dallas Mavericks are on a roll. They've won 15 of their last 17, so this is not going to be the greatest draft pick in the world, but it is a draft pick, and that's important because if you look at the New York Knicks roster, there's something missing, and that is homegrown players. The New York Knicks do not have many of them. Now, 3 specific guys have broken out completely on the New York Knicks, and Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle, and a little less so Isaiah Hartenstein, though he completely has anyway. And in this entire rotation, there are 2 guys who the New York Knicks drafted, both of whom in the second round, Deuce McBride and Mitchell Robinson. Now, also, if you want to keep going with that 58th overall a few years back, they drafted Jericho Sims, who's still with the team, but he doesn't really get minutes. But look, I want to see some homegrown guys for a few different reasons. I think it's good for the team, and they need some young bodies once again. I mean, the last few drafts, they've traded out of it, like last year and the year before that when they technically drafted Jalen Duren, but that was part of that trade with the Pistons so they could cut that cap space in order to sign Jalen Brunson, where they traded Kemba Walker, Alec Burks, Nerlens Noel. And it worked out beautifully for the Knicks. Alec Burks back with the team, probably going to leave in free agency because he's not really going to get minutes because he just hasn't played well, let's be real. But if you look at this New York Knicks team, they just don't have a lot of homegrown players, and they have a lot of vets. And yeah, it's working out beautifully. I don't want to trade that for anything in the world. And we've seen guys like RJ Barrett, like Emmanuel Quickley, like Quentin Grimes, our homegrown Knicks, in the Play the Kids movement, if you guys remember that season that the Knicks were randomly bad. Well, they weren't randomly bad. They didn't have a point guard, and Tibbs kept playing Alec Burks there, but that's beside the point. Tibbs has bounced back and become a great coach since that season where he was abysmal. It's fine. It's okay. But look, I want some homegrown rookies, and the Knicks have 2 picks in the first round. Both will be in the 20s because the Knicks are going to finish almost certainly as a top 4 seed, potentially a top 3 seed, arguably maybe even a top 2 seed, and the Dallas Mavericks are going to finish around the same. So we're going to see 2 guys get drafted in the second round if the Knicks want to keep both picks. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't think Leon Rose and co are keeping both picks, though I could see at least 1 pick being made. And I did take a look at a mock draft from Yahoo Sports, that is, and one of the picks that the Knicks are projected is someone who would be very interesting to bring into this team in Tyler Smith. And they did mention, as he's part of the G League Ignite, he's a stretch 4. It was so hard to scout Ignite players because how lopsided the scores were. The Ignite just basically got the shit beat out of them every single game they played. It looked like kind of glorified pickup basketball games, as they mentioned. But Tyler Smith can consistently knock down threes, and even with all the losses, there is typically something positive to take away from his game and how it could translate to the NBA. Look, I've kind of wanted to stretch big on this New York Knicks team just because I think it'd be fun. I think it'll be interesting to see some lineups where Julius Randle is the sole inside player, where you don't have to worry about Isaiah Hartenstein or Mitchell Robinson, both of whom don't really shoot jump shots at all. Bringing in Tyler Smith, who is not a center, at least not yet because he's very skinny. He is a stretch 4, and if you're a stretch 4, you can kind of spend some time at the 5. Basically, every stretch 4 in the NBA, whether you're 6'8" or 7'2", you're going to spend some time at center in this era of basketball. Now, Smith is not a defender at all, so I don't know if Tibbs would ever do that. But I would like to see them bring him in. I think he'd be an interesting prospect. He's still 19. He's younger. He's not one of the older guys in the draft, and the Knicks With Leon Rose, they have never picked someone who is 1 year out of high school. They've always gone older no matter who it is. Deuce played a few years. Quentin Grimes played multiple years in college. Obviously, Obi Toppin was like 23 when they drafted him or something. If you guys remember, Kevin Knox once said back when Kevin Knox was a Knick, if you can remember those dark ages, that basically something he wanted to do was help the younger players like Obi Toppin, yet Obi was older than him despite the fact that Knox had been in the league like 3 years longer than him. So that was funny, but it also wasn't funny because that team wasn't that good. Did make the 4 seed, though. Thank you, Julius Randle, for carrying, and also RJ Barrett's great year. But we just don't have homegrown guys right now, and I think it'd be good for this team to get some, and Tibbs is a great developmental coach. I know he doesn't get a lot of credit for it for some reason, but that is the best aspect of Tom Thibodeau's coaching, is that he develops the shit out of players. If you look at guys like Deuce McBride, like Precious Achiuwa, Isaiah Hartenstein, Mitchell Robinson's development into a defensive guy who's not getting a ton of fouls anymore outside of that one game that was just ridiculous in the Bucks game. We've seen Julius Randle break out under Tibbs. We've seen Jalen Brunson break out under Tibbs. We've seen Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart break out under Tibbs. Tom Thibodeau knows how to develop players. I'd like to see them get a few young bodies in there. Also, they're cheap. They're just cheap. You don't have to pay them much. Massive win for the Knicks. I don't think they're going to draft another player outside of that, but this is the comparison of Tyler Smith because I just like the idea of a stretch big. I'm going to run through this very quickly. He's 6'11", 224 pounds. Really a pure power forward. Pro comparison, Channing Frye. So if you guys know what Channing Frye did, also drafted by the Knicks, you can kind of get a gauge on what he's going to do. He has a convincing stroke and strong finishing tools that should draw top 20 attention. And the ability to catch, rise, and fire from anywhere in the half court can turn Smith into a useful and dangerous scoring threat. I just like the idea of having a stretch big on the team. Also, just adding more size to the Knicks. If there's one thing this Knicks team still lacks, it's size. So I would love to bring in Tyler Smith. I think that would be interesting. Also, another name, as you've seen in the thumbnail, is none other than Zach Edey. Look, I'm interested in it. One thing we've heard consistently about this draft is it's one of the shittiest drafts we've seen in a while. And when that happens, I think you just shoot for the stars completely. Just go for Zach Edey. What's the worst that happens? He doesn't pan out like, 40 players in the NBA drafts usually don't. If you think about the NBA draft and think about the first overall pick, yeah, there's I'd say an 80% chance at a success rate that at least one time they become an all-star. If you look at the most recent first overall picks, all of them are promising. Wembanyama is just disturbingly good. Anthony Edwards becoming an NBA superstar. Cade Cunningham becoming an NBA superstar. Paulo Banchero leading the Magic to this level of success. Zion Williamson, when he plays, he's balling out. He's having a great run right now. Zion looks amazing. All these picks, you have to go back to the pick before Zion, which is DeAndre Ayton. So that gives you 5 out of the last 6. And yeah, Markelle Fultz was before that. So that's 2 in a row that missed. And Ben Simmons was before that. So that's 3 in a row that missed. And Karl Anthony Towns isn't really playing like a first overall pick, so that's 4 in a row that weren't exactly the biggest wins. What I'm saying is the draft is an absolute crapshoot. It is a gamble. You're playing a guessing game if you're not drafting first overall, and even if you are, you're still playing a guessing game. The Knicks need to just take the highest potential shot because they have enough depth as it is. They're going to have no problem signing veterans who want to jump onto a winning culture that could win a ring like the New York Knicks can, especially to play in New York. So I think the Knicks could take that shot at Zach Edey. I think it'd be cool. I like the idea of another big man because there is a world where they lose Hartenstein or Mitch. And I'm not the most comfortable with Jericho Sims as a backup center at this day and age, but who knows? Who knows? He's got time. He's shown promise for sure. But if you take a look here, this is an article that was done on SNY not too long ago. It's just talking about the importance of these draft picks. There's major financial implications because the Knicks are bordering on the luxury tax. Anunoby's owed an extension. We know the Hartenstein stuff. You're going to have to give some money out. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle are not far from extensions either. And then as a contending team that's facing tightening finances, New York will need a fresh group of productive players on team-friendly deals, hence why Deuce McBride got that long-term, low-cost contract prior to his breakout. And if you also look, one of the reasons why they traded RJ and Quentin Grimes and IQ is so they didn't have to give him contract extensions. But it's time they draft again. Guys, I kind of like making draft videos. I'll be honest, I don't have that great of a grasp on this 2024 NBA draft because it sucks. There is going to be one guy who breaks out and becomes elite in this draft. So there's always one of these bad drafts where it's like, damn, why did the 19th pick become so nice? I mean, the easiest one to pull out of the hat is 2013, the Anthony Bennett draft. 15th overall was Giannis. All these drafts have something. 2014 wasn't the best draft, top-heavy in the world. Obviously, Joel Embiid was in it in 3rd overall, but Wiggins, Jabari Parker, not really wins right there, not winners. But, so I guess that's another 1st overall pick in a row that didn't really work out also. But, also, look, Jokic, 2nd round, he's the best player in the NBA, going to win his 3rd MVP in 4 years. The other one went to a guy in that draft. Drafts are weird, dude. Don't think you can predict an NBA draft. I don't know how you do it. I don't know if there's anyone who can. Outside of Walt Perrin, who works for the New York Knicks, so we're good. Comment your thoughts down below. Who do you want the Knicks to draft? Give me someone realistic. Don't be like, oh, I want Alexandre Sarr. I guarantee like 20% of you don't know who that is, even though he's going to be the 1st overall pick, because this draft sucks. But it's whatever, guys. I like these draft picks. I want to see something happen with them. I don't just want to see him get traded because also it's just kind of boring if we're being honest. And I know that's not the greatest reasoning, but it is. I'm kind of rambling right now. So have a great day. Go Knicks. Like, subscribe, post notifications. You guys know the deal. See you later.